everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of our series on transforming your body. And I'm Stacy Roach. I'm the general manager and fitness trainer at Let's Go Fitness. And we thought a great way to continue our series of letting you hear about people who have transformed their bodies and also giving you the opportunity to meet our trainers and clients. We thought a great way to continue that would be to interview our very own Jeffrey C. Morton, owner and fitness extraordinaire at Let's Go Fitness.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So it's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for stopping by, Jeff. We appreciate it. So many of you know Jeff in the gym, through church, through all of his community activism. But I'm betting that a lot of you think that Jeff was always fit and has always been a personal trainer. So we're just going to kind of take a journey down hear about his story of how he came to be a trainer and transform his body and start his own business.
Look, if you thought I always was in shape, then you're probably right. No, I'm joking. I came from a very athletic family. My father was really coached us up into sports, so we played everything. We played, but specifically the main sports. My brother and I were huge into baseball. That was our first thing, and then we got into football, and then we fell into love with basketball. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. So we fell in love with basketball, and we did a little track. We played around with a little track, and then we were really fortunate in football. Football was our ticket out. My brother and I both got scholarships to play football in college, and we are definitely proud of that accomplishment. That's something that my father really pushed us to be able to have a free education. And both my parents are educators, and education was really, really important and instilled in our household. And so my dad felt that because we could definitely use our attributes of sports to be able to accomplish to get to college and to accomplish a lot of our goals in life, and it's paid off. So thanks, Dad.
Now, was football your favorite sport?
No, basketball.
Basketball?
Man, if I could have grown about 6, 7 more inches, man. And I'm sure my brother feels the same way. But it's funny because a lot of football players today, if you were to ask them in the NFL, if you were to ask them today in the NFL, a lot of those guys would tell you that their favorite sport is basketball too. But again, it's only 12 men on a NBA roster, basketball roster. Well, maybe even 15 sometimes. But in football, you can have 68 man rosters. So it's a lot more people that can be on a football team than it can be on a basketball team. So basketball was my favorite sport. Thanks, Mike. Michael Jordan, that is.
And so what did you study in college?
I was a public relations major. It's interesting because I was a public relations communications major. What's interesting about that is when I was in school, in elementary school, I had very, very humbling beginnings. School was not my thing. I had a speech impediment, and I was diagnosed with learning disability, specifically in English literature. So just my comprehension skills were just poor, and my ability to speak fluid English was a challenge for me. So I stuttered all the time, and even now, sometimes when I go back to St. Louis, this is where I'm from, people will refer to me as Stuttering Jeff. Some of the guys that knew me growing up in kindergarten and first grade, but I failed the first grade, and so I had a very humbling beginning. It's just amazing though, with hard work and studying and sticking to it, what you can achieve. The very thing that I was diagnosed with a learning disability is the very thing that I majored in college, and to one thing that I think I excel the most in is communication. So the thing that I lacked in is truly my strength today. So don't quit, and don't let nobody tell you can't do it, because I'm a witness to that now.
What was what was the biggest help in overcoming your stuttering and your comprehension?
I think for me, the one thing was confidence. Just believing in myself. It was humbling because when you're diagnosed with a learning disability and you have to go to some of those classes when everybody around you have an issue, at first I felt insulted, and I felt insulted because I was a jock. My father had my brother and I in sports, and so when I'm around a lot of different kids with other learning disabilities, I felt in that place that I didn't really have a disability, but I had an obligation to help those guys with their inabilities, and by helping them with their inabilities or their deficiencies, it allowed me to overcome some of the fears to speak or to read or to really educate myself. And I think that was a huge thing for me. I just think that presenting in front of people caused me to be extremely nervous. To read in front of people made me nervous, and because of that, it caused for me to stutter, and it caused me to have comprehension skills that were delayed. And but once I got over that, once my leadership ability came out in elementary around those other kids with deficiencies, it really made me believe in myself and want to do better, not just for myself, but for those that were watching.
It's powerful.
And like I said, I majored in communications, the very thing that I was diagnosed with LD. So I'm very excited. I mean, that was one of the biggest accomplishments of my life.
So you played football throughout college,
Mm-hmm.
and post-college is when a lot of us tend to put on some weight. We kind of don't have access to all these social clubs and activities. So how did you pursue fitness post-college in the real world?
Oh man, that's a great question. So of course, when you play a sport, specifically college sports, they feed you, right? So, if, when I played football, I mean, we ate big meals. I mean, the goal was to get as big as you can, and from where I'm from, you know, people celebrate you when you come back bigger. It's I guess it's more attractive. I don't know, but you get praised for when you're bigger. It's like, oh man, you big, man, you big, you going to the league. So that was really honored from where I'm from, and of course I didn't go to the NFL or anything like that. I had to get a real job. So, but the eating and the mindset of being big and that size and hearing being honored being that size was something that resonated with me, and it became a default set in my mind. So I continued to eat the same way. I continued to lift the same way. But I wasn't practicing. I didn't have any mechanism or any source or resource to burn off all those calories that I was consuming. So I was just ballooning up, and eventually, I went from 190 pounds to 260 pounds.
Wow.
And at that moment, I tell you, Stacy, I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt. I can remember I was playing a little. There was some kids out in front of my house, and I was playing. They were playing tag, so I went out there and started playing tag with them. And I mean, they were running circles around me, and I was like, "Wow, I am out of shape." And so
How old were you at this time?
I was like 24, 25 years old.
Okay.
It's like 24, 25 years old. And I can remember that moment like it was yesterday. I hate the way I looked. I hate the way I felt. I can remember getting up out of bed and getting up in sections. Some people, what I'm talking about. You can jump. When it's time to get out of bed, you jump out of bed. But then there's times where you kind kind of, you open up your eyes first, and then you're like the robot. That's the way I used to get up out of bed. And I started learning. Hindsight tells me too, when your body's not calibrated properly, you know, I would have anxiety attacks all the time. I was suffering from depression. There were certain things in my head that was going on that I know now that exercise takes care of, and there's certain chemicals that's at work when you work out. But when I wasn't working out, and when I wasn't taking care of myself, and when I was out of whack, then everything was chaotic. My mindset was chaotic. The way I moved, the way I thought, everything was chaotic, and I hated that. I had sleep apnea. I couldn't sleep at night. I mean, it was just, there were problems all over the board with me. And
so I guess you could say these problems that most of us have, we all suffer from mild bouts of anxiety and depression and feeling tired. They're just magnified when your body
is out of whack. Oh man, yeah. I mean, it was completely out of whack. I think for me, the thing that got me to change my mindset and get back in shape, I was in church, and I was in a Pentecostal church. If you know anything about church, and you learn about Pentecostalism, let me know. It's not a game. Pentecostalism, really takes the day of Pentecost is in Acts chapter 2. And it's about praises when the Holy Ghost fell, and Pentecostalism is really about the Holy Spirit and praising and dancing and really, maturating in that moment, in that idea. And I can remember, I was in my faith, and I was praying and praising, and I got a little excited, got a little too excited, so I started dancing a little bit. And I started dancing, and that dance was about 5 seconds, and I hit the ground, bow, and I couldn't breathe. And I can remember the choir director, because the music was going, and I can remember the choir director came down, and he kneeled down, and he was like, "Yo, Jeff, are you all right?" And I mean, I really couldn't breathe, and I was like, "Bro, no." I mean, I can recall saying, "Bro, I can't turn off the music," because the music, I was getting more anxious because I couldn't hear myself think, and I mean, I'm panicking. I'm on the ground, I'm like fish out of water. It was the most scariest moment of my life. I mean, I literally thought I was going to die on that church floor, and I can remember, a voice in my head said, you need to stop praying so hard, or stop, worshiping so hard. You need to stop doing that. And I got angry. Like, I got angry when that voice, or when that thought came. I got really angry, because at that moment I realized I was limiting or bonding the very thing that I enjoy doing. I never wanted to put a cap or limit anything that I enjoy doing. So I said, no, I'll never let something like that happen. I'll never allow limits on my body. I'll never put limits on my body or handcuff my body to anything if I can control it. And so the next day I found myself in a gym, and it took me about anywhere between 8 months to a year. But I went from 260 pounds to about 180 pounds, 170 pounds. 170 pounds. Wow. I got too skinny. They thought a lot of people who saw me later, they thought I was sick, but no, I was in that gym working out. So, and that changed my life. And I know everybody has their why, but that was my why. I never wanted to physically be trapped from something that I want to do intellectually, spiritually, or even physically. I just never wanted to put handcuffs on what my full potential is in this world, or what my purpose is in life. So that I changed that day.
Now, in losing weight, what worked for you? You said you went to the gym the next day, but
Mhm.
what are the types? You just went back to what you knew?
I did because I wasn't a trainer then, so I wasn't that educated. But I just went off what I knew. I was experimenting with food, so I would take pictures of food every day, because I wanted to learn what worked, what didn't work. So I became kind of like a scientist or a chemist, just trying to learn. But I did a lot of cardio, and did a lot of calisthenics, where I did a lot of push-ups, pull-ups, a lot of body weight. I wanted to master my body weight. If I couldn't lift my own body, then I didn't want to do it. So I wanted to master my own body. So I mastered push-ups, pull-ups, dips. I squat with my own body, lunges with my own body. And then once I got to where I wanted to be, then I started adding on. Once I wanted to get stronger, then I started adding more resistance training to that. But that's the way I started it, and the weight came off.
What kind of support did you have from your friends and family? It's because it just sounds like you did this on your own.
And that's the truth.
You were an island.
That's the truth. I did it on my own. Again, when something in your life affects you, and you feel limited to being able to express yourself, whatever that may be, and your body is limiting you to express yourself, and it's something that you can control, man, you got to do something about it. And I had to do something about it. And so I didn't have any. I mean, I'm sure I had cheerleaders, but I didn't have anybody there, working out with me. I didn't have any. I didn't have any fitness trainers or anything like that. I was truly self motivated. I think that I would have gotten in shape a lot faster had I had a trainer, or had I got better educated. But like Stacey said, I went off based on what I knew, and coming from playing college sports and stuff like that, I knew how to train. I mean, I had the proper training from a conditioning coach, but you know, but looking back on it, it was good to learn on my own. I learned a whole lot, and I didn't have to be dependent on anybody. But after I lost all that weight, Stacy, I had to share it with the world. I knew that I wasn't the only one that felt that way about myself. I know that I wasn't the only one that was struggling with certain anxieties, or just anything that somebody may be going through. And I wanted to share this with the world. This is a gift. My body is this instrument that has many. Last time we spoke about being a musician and learning more about music. Man, our bodies are an instrument. and I just believe my instrument can play at so many different tones, and I didn't want to limit that, and it changed my life. And so from then, I was working with a telephone company. Hated it, and I knew I had a bigger purpose. I knew I could do something greater, and I wind up quitting it. And I don't recommend this for anybody. If you quit a job, try to have another job either lined up, or at least have your start date somewhere else, because I quit this job without an idea where I was going. And so I went 4 months without a job. And so, I lived off boiled eggs and oatmeal. And that's actually a healthy diet, but I didn't know. I was literally, that's all I lived on. Boiled eggs.
So you quit your job not knowing that you wanted to be a personal trainer?
No, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew, and even when I quit my job, I didn't stop working out. I still had to take care of me. I still worked out. And so I can remember the local gym that I was currently a member of. I was going there to clean out my locker because I could no longer afford the membership. And I remember the general manager there saw me and told me he hadn't seen me in a few weeks. Is everything going okay? And I told him my story, and he asked me if I considered being a trainer. And I told him, I actually was thinking about that on my drive here. and he told me, based on what he saw me do for myself, he thought that I'd be a fabulous trainer, and I said, I would definitely take you up on the offer, and I became a trainer.
Just like that.
Just like that.
So what was that journey like? Did you get the certification first? Because you all heard my story where I like to follow the steps.
Yeah,
So
Stacy's structured and ordered.
Good.
Not me, man. I plunge first, and then I get the education second. And so, no, I was not certified in training. In the state of Maryland, you don't have to be certified. And so, but gyms want you to be certified. So they gave me like 90 days to educate myself in exercise science and kinesiology. And but I wasn't studying. You kidding me? I was, because I was meeting my need, meaning, I had bills to pay. I went 4 months without a job. And so, but it was great because my first month I had a great month. But my second month at this company, I broke some type of personal training revenue record. I'm talking about like $12,000 in a month, and I don't mind sharing that. But we were at a fairly small gym, and that was major at that time. And for me, I felt really, really good. Like, wow, this is what I need to be doing. I'm not only changing lives, but it's also changing my life financially. So that's how I knew that this is what I need to be like. This is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to be doing.
So how long when did the idea start to come about going out on your own?
Well, I'm training, I'm changing people's lives. I'm feeling gratified changing people's lives, and I wanted to know everything about it. It's when you love something so much, you don't just play with it. You don't toy with it. You want to know everything about it. And so, as a personal trainer, I was there as a personal trainer. I wanted to know sales. I asked, could I be on the sales team? They said, no, you can't be on the sales team. A personal trainer, full-time personal trainer, can't do both. And I was like, but I'll be your first. And I did both. I was a sales membership counselor full-time, and I was a personal trainer full-time. And I wanted to know everything about sales and membership, and I wanted to know everything about the gym, and I wanted to know everything about the budget. I wanted to know everything. And I did. I learned everything about it. I made some mistakes. I did some great things. I did some bad things. I got in trouble, and so all of that stuff happened. But it came a time where I felt in my heart of hearts, in order for any relationship to work, it has to have growth. And I wanted to grow. I wanted to grow in this relationship with this love affair I was having with fitness. And I asked to become general manager. I wanted to be a leader. I thought I could be that. And at this particular place, they had other ideas, and so I felt that if I wasn't able to grow up, I had to grow out. And that's when I grew out, and I found this location that we're at now. And I was in the owner at the time allowed me to come on and come on as a contractor, and I became a contractor, and I began to train clients, and it was a great start of ownership for me.
So again, you didn't really have a plan, or how much of a, not that there's anything wrong with that, but you kind of, similar to me, you got to a point where something had to give. You can only go so far at this gym, so you went out on your own, but it sounds like a real big leap of faith.
Yeah, I got a problem with that, I got a problem with faith. And I'm saying it in a good way. Like faith have legs. You know what I mean? I activate them, and I just think that when it's time to exit, I exit. And I'm not advising you to exit without having a plan. She's right. Have a plan. But when something is in my life, when something's just not right, and I'm totally fatigued from it, meaning like enough is enough. I would rather quit that and have nothing or wait on something else than be still involved in that thing while it's killing me. I refuse that. I refuse to sit or stand in something that is destroying everything about me. Continuing to work there or not put forth my full potential or be able to activate or encourage my full potential was killing me. Right. And so I had to divorce that and move on, and I had to search, but it caused me to put my head to the ground and to really meditate, to pray and soul search and figure out who I am, where I want to go, and be open to opportunities. And an opportunity opened up, and I ran in, and like Stacey said, I didn't have an actual strategy or plan. I just knew I had to be I need to get out of that situation, and I did.
And I think when I met you was when you just had. So I think you had this location
right.
in your truck. So I think when I met Jeff, he was just this guy in a truck that showed up at Latrobe Park, and we did our thing. And so, you'd probably been maybe a year, and I remember, I got this opportunity to manage this space, and he was telling us about it, and some people were like, "Oh, don't get your hopes up," But one of Jeff's favorite sayings is, or something he says a lot, is, "Everything always works out." Which I will argue, yes, everything does always work out. Not always the way you want to, though. But if you, I think you're a testimony that if you have faith, it will work out.
Always does. A cat always lands on their feet.
This is not true.
But he ends
most
up on
of the
his
time,
feet.
but they're okay.
Hey.
And so this opportunity, I think I don't know if you want to go into it, but it really was a matter of being in the right place at the right time and taking advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but just general, I had the opportunity at this place, but at the time, the individual who owned it, some things fell through, and they weren't able to hold on to it. So all the trainers at this particular location, so I was a contractor, so just like a lot of the trainers, or some of the trainers are contractors or subcontractors, but I was a contractor. So because I didn't own or lease the place, I had to vacate the place as well, because the owner had to vacate the place for obvious reasons of the lease agreement. And so, as Stacey was conveying, I was just working out of my truck, and so I had faithful clients that would still utilize me. And I'm telling you, y'all, this was in the winter time. Like this was December. This was November, December, January, February, March, or February, and I mean it was freezing for the next 4 months. I literally worked out of my pickup truck, and again, I had faithful clients that would have me come to their school or come to their office or meet them outside. I mean, I had a group, literally, I had a boot camp group that would meet me outside, and I'm telling you guys, it was. I mean, some of you guys are listening to it, and some of you guys were there. I mean, it would be 10 degrees, 5 degrees, and they would come out, and we would work out, we would get it in, and these people were just faithful to me, and I'm forever grateful that you continued with me without a location. I'm forever grateful, and of course Stacey and her husband and a few other people who were faithful to my fitness and what I was able to give them, and I am forever grateful to them. But what happened, because I was good in this location, there were people who worked in this building who would always go to the building manager, and because this gym still sat here, but there was no owner, and there were people that were going to bat for me who worked in this building. They would say, "Hey, where's Jeff? We need Jeff back. We need Jeff back." So it pays to be good to people. It was people who I would say, weren't the best people, right? But I would still be genuine to them and be good to them and ask them if they needed anything. I would, whatever. You guys need me to turn the television for you. You need me to adjust the equipment for you. Whatever I could do to express the best version of myself to people, I did. And it paid off. These guys went to bat for me. So for about 4 months later, I get a phone call from the building managers, and they wanted to sit down and talk to me. And I'm like, I do not know how they got my number. I don't know. But I just got a phone call, and I sat down with them. They asked me if I had a business plan. And I'm going to tell you something that's dangerous. I told them yes, but I didn't. I told them yes, I had a business plan, but I didn't. And they said, well, listen, come back and visit us tomorrow, and we'd love to see your business plan. And let's talk about how, if there's a possibility for you to take over the gym. And I said, no problem. So, of course, I went home, prayed, because I was thankful. And I went to work. I wrote out a business plan that was like, 10 pages long. No lie, it was like 10 pages long. It was applicable. It was systematic. It was structured, and it was my vision. And I went home that night and I wrote that all out. Came back, showed it to him, conveyed it to him, explained what we would have, and the building manager was floored. He was like, "Man, this is awesome." He said, "This is out of my scope of practice. You know, gym." He said, "You know fitness. You know this stuff." Like, and long story short, we wrote up a contract, and now I'm the owner of the gym, and that's how Let's Go Fitness was birthed.
That's awesome. Here we are.
That's how Let's Go Fitness was birthed, and I was able to share this with all of my clients who were there with me. I was able to share this, and I went to them and said, "Listen, I have this great opportunity. This is what's going on." And of course, they rooted for me the whole time. But it's good, like you said before, it's good to be in the right place at the right time. But it's also great to, wherever you all are, be great. Take advantage. If whether you love it or not, take advantage of wherever you are, because you just don't know who you may run into. You don't know who you may affect. You don't know who you may offend. So, be the best version of yourself wherever you are, wherever you work. And I'm not going to call out, different job titles, because, to you it may be trash, but to somebody else it may be gold. So be the best version of yourself wherever you are, because you don't know who you may be affecting and how that may affect you in the future. And so, I'm thankful to say that being in this place, being at the right place at the right time, but being effective to people, and how being effective to people and how affecting people affected me in the overall scope of things.
The one thing we talk about a lot is that you never know what someone else is going through, and you never know when your paths are going to cross again, and just the smallest gesture, just saying hi, good morning, can make a big difference. So yes, he was in the right place at the right time, but you had done a lot of things prior to that set you up for success. So.
Those are facts. That's the truth. So that's pretty much my story, man. I mean, I hope hope I didn't bore you with any of that, but yeah, I mean, once you get an idea of what you're supposed to be doing, learn as much as possible about that thing, and sky's is the limit. Do not allow don't allow your body or your deficiencies to limit you of what you can do. You can do anything you put your mind to. Don't limit yourself. Be the instrument that you were meant to be, and allow it to play, allow it to harmonize, allow the world, allow the universe to hear you sing, and so that's my story. I hope that story helps somebody out there. We're about transforming bodies, and so if you want to be transformed, if you want to transform your body, if you want to transform your mind, look no further. That's what we're about. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for sharing your story. All right, tune in next time, guys.